Okay, people, I wanted to do a quick recap on what I've taught in this series. And I'm doing this because this false prophet has finally figured out that he's caught up to, and how it relates to the parallel of Paul in the Corinthians. You know, Jesus, and this is what Paul taught the Corinthians, Jesus taught the apostles freely. And then Paul taught the Corinthians freely, but then the Corinthians charged the people for the word. You got to buy the book. You got to buy the CD. You got to buy so you can get the message from the Lord, the word, the prophetic visions. So he's caught now, and he's realized he's caught. So I'm going to cover this material thoroughly. Since he's plagiarized my other stuff, I'm going to cover it so he will have no choice but to plagiarize it all over again with his new wonderful prophetic visionary book that he's trying to write feverishly, because he's got to make that sale. He's got to get that money to self-glorify that he's a prophetic visionary. So remember what I taught you about the consuming giants of the times of Noah's, and how it parallels today's as the giants of industry, the banking giants, the media giants, the tech giants, the pharma giants, as it relates to Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. Very thorough. So in understanding that, and he's upset about his book deal. He's voiced his concern and upset on his videos of how he was monetarily injured. So here, we're going to go a little bit further and get more thorough. That way he has to further plagiarize all the work to sell you a book instead of getting the word freely. So understand the giants that consumed mankind in the parallel as it relates to Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. They have made you, these giants, they have made you consumers. So you are to be consumed, like in the time of Noah, how the giants consumed mankind. And you're consumed by your consumption. Understand that. Very important. This is the parallel of what it speaks of in the Bible. But also as it relates to Genesis chapter 6, verse 9, and then also 9, verse 17. About the flood, the parallel of the flood, and what I've been teaching about the blue and the red waves, that we're in that flood. These are those times. The blue and the red waves of division that these principalities in high places have created, as it talks of in Scripture. And the surge of immigration, understand, as in a storm surge, and also the insurgents that stormed the Capitol, and the parallelism and metaphorical idea behind that as it relates. Insurgents that stormed the Capitol as it relates to the flood in the times of Noah. So realize you don't have to go buy somebody's CD or somebody's book, because there's likely chances. I showed you how to recognize a false prophet. They got something to sell you, just like in the time of Jesus when he spoke of. He had to whip those priests out of the house of prayer, because as he said, they made the Father's house of prayer a place of thieves and merchants. So, got to plagiarize, which is theft, and then sell it to you as a merchant. Got to sell you the word that I teach freely, that Jesus taught freely, that Paul taught freely. So he understands now, and he's recognized that he's caught up and he needs a lawyer to help him to regain profits lost when it was him that was wrong by plagiarism. So understand who the pastors and ministers are that you follow. Realize that many of them follow somebody else like me. They follow somebody too. Problem is, they, just like in the parallel with Paul in the Corinthians, they took what was given to them freely and then tried to sell it to you. And this is what is repulsive to God and Jesus. Remember, he took the whip after he finished whipping the animals and the merchandise out of the Father's house of prayer. He whipped the priest out also. So this is the fall of the church, because they self-edify, self-glorify, and they seek the almighty dollar, that serpent and the rod. So stay in the Word, people. You need to be in the Word yourself. Develop your relationship with the Word. You don't need somebody else to tell you. God bless.